Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody's doing good. I thank goodness it's Thursday. That's all I can say. It gives me a break for an hour to just sit in my craft room. Oh my goodness. That puppy is crazy. That's all I have to say. She is just crazy, full of energy. So I hope everybody's doing good. If you were with me last week, you knew that you heard me say that my stove was being delivered today. Well, I got a call yesterday and the stove came in damaged, and they weren't willing to do anything for me, which I was surprised. So I kept the hood that I had ordered, and they postponed that installation till November 9th, and I canceled the stove. So I ended up going to Lowe's, bought a new stove, bought a washer and dryer. Hey, Sheila. And got a call on my way home from Lowe's from the original place. The hood came in damaged, so I canceled everything. I mean, it just was crazy. When they gave me my refund for my stove, instead of refunding my money, they charged me again for the stove. So I had to go back there this morning, hello, to get my full refund. So it's been a crazy couple days. I've been painting, trying to get my kitchen ready, and I got to do my laundry room. So I'm just so glad that hey, Margaret, I'm so glad I have an hour with you guys so we can create these cards. But just as a reminder, um, my November craft box, and I haven't even announced it in the group yet, I'm going to be doing it with this new set, framed florets. And it comes with this beautiful designer series paper, these beautiful oval dies, and these are only a sample of the dies, and these gorgeous gold embellishments. um, I have the cards designed in my head, but not created yet. But I just wanted to let everybody know that starting November 1st, this is available to customers. Hi, Karen. It was horrible, Karen. Hey, Do. Um, so if you're interested in the craft box for November, you'll need this, and at least just the stamp sets and the frames or the dies. And I want to let you know, just in case they become not available really quickly. Demonstrators already have this set, or it's already available to us as demonstrators. So I do have the set. And if you would like to get a hold of new products early and save on your crafty products until October 31st, you can sign up for the starter kit. You do not have to do it as a business. Like I said, you can do it just to save money on all your crafty goodness. This month for $99, you can choose $155 worth of product. I would love to have you on my team. Hey, I've missed you too, Do. Hi, Kathy. So, with that out of the way, let's take a look at what we're creating tonight. I wanted to do something. I know Halloween is around the corner, and I did Halloween cards a while back, but we do have Thanksgiving, and around here the leaves are falling and the fields are filled with pumpkins. So I decided to grab that Hello Harvest and create with this tonight. But I also wanted to throw in a sunflower. So I chose this small sunflower from Celebrate Sunflowers. And I, of course, used the dies. And I figured I would only make 2 cards tonight. And we'll go through some coloring on this one. I'm using Bermuda Bay. I added the sunflower. We have an embossed background. And then for the inside, I added that other pumpkin. And the color looks terrible on camera, but that is Bermuda Bay. And then for the second card, I figured we would look at the designer series paper that came with Hello Harvest. And that is called Rustic Harvest. And I know a lot of the papers are very dark papers, other than this one here. And I decided to cut it so we could add it to a layering rectangle or a stitched rectangle, and then add a few leaves and little sunflowers to the front. Yeah, this is a really pretty set. And then for the inside, I did something a little different. I covered the inside with the designer series paper. Hi, Fran. From the outside, added a stitched rectangle, and then I fussy cut one of the pumpkins from this designer series paper. Okay, so just really quick and easy. And we'll do this one first so we can concentrate on the coloring last. And so I hope everybody's doing good. Like I said, it's been frustrating. Yesterday was just a day. I'm telling you, it was crazy. They said the stove was so damaged that there was no way that they could let me have it. So we're gonna work with Mossy Meadow, and this is 11 by 4 1/4. And scored at 5 1/2. Okay, and we're gonna put it portrait. And then when they, wanted me to pick out another stove, and they weren't willing to give me a break on anything, I had to come up with more money, and they had canceled my appointment for today. So I canceled I canceled the stove order. So this is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, and this is in basic black. And I'm just going to adhere this right to the front of the card. Just like this. The puppy is at the door. He hears me talk. She hears me talking. Baby is sleeping. I wish my baby was sleeping. She is a firecracker for sure. All right. So now I have another Mossy Meadow layer, and this is 5 1/4 by 4. And then I'm going to layer on, a designer series paper in the Mossy Meadow. This is the opposite side. And this should be 5 1/8 by 3 7/8, and it is. And we are also going to just adhere these 2 layers together. Let me get down on the screen here. And lay that out. And this layer we're actually going to pop up onto the front of the card. So I'll add some dimensionals. Well, I think fall has arrived in Pennsylvania. It got so chilly out. Guess I'm going to have to... Hey, Elizabeth. not cooperating. Aw, thanks, Karen. Yeah, I know. I keep saying I'm going to switch over completely to YouTube because I have a hard time with it too. All right, so we added our dimensionals. Now we're going to lay this down on the front of the card. Make sure we have it on there even. All right, so there's the basic base to the card. I did die cut the stitched rectangle, and this is the 2 5/8 by 4. And then I cut, and let me just check. I did 3 7/8 by 2 3/8 for the pumpkin from this designer series paper. And I kept the width, and like I said, it's 2 3/8. But when I cut the piece, and let me just show you, it was one piece. I cut it at, she's going crazy in there. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8. Let's see. I was going to do it at 1 1/8, but I did it at 1 3/16. And that's what I cut. I started with this 1 3/16, 1 3/16, 1 3/16. And I want to keep them so the design stays just the way it was on the designer series paper. So we're just going to adhere these. So you want to make sure that you keep your pieces the way they're meant to be, the way you cut them off into that piece. And you just want to line it up so you have about 1/8 of an inch on the sides off the stitching, and the same thing on the top. Okay, so now we want this piece, and you can do this with any paper. It doesn't necessarily have to be this paper. And we're going to do the same thing. You want to keep that 1/8 of an inch in between, and you want to keep it reasonably straight. And it just breaks up the design a little bit. And then we're going to get this last piece in here. And I'm going to make sure that it's even about 1/8 of an inch here. And on the sides again, I'm not going to worry too much about the bottom, because you'll notice we don't see the bottom. I have it all covered up. Okay. Okay. Yes, I am on YouTube right now. I actually have it going to 3 different areas. Okay. So now that we have this piece, we're going to pop this up onto the front of the card. Just like that. Take off these little papers. So I'm not sure. I didn't get a call from Lowe's yet to tell me when my stuff is going to be delivered and installed. So we're still without a stove. The washing machine, it's not a necessity. It was just a let's buy a new washing machine type of deal. So I'm not worried about that. I just want that stove. We've been without one since August 4th. No, October 4th. That's so crazy. All right. So now looking at the card, we need these leaves. And what I did was I grabbed some Mossy Meadow and I grabbed this leaf, and I'll show you. It's this one right here from Hello Harvest, and it does come with a die. So we would just ink it up and then stamp it and then die cut it. And when they are die cut, they look like this. Just cute little leaves. Now I didn't redo this one because I wanted to show you. If you do happen to misstamp or you don't have enough ink, I'm just rummaging through my blends here. You can tell that I didn't have enough ink right here on the stamp. All you have to do is grab the same color blend. I know this is alcohol and this is water-based. You can use your Stampin' Right markers, but the blends work. All you have to do is just fill that in. It looks really dark now, but when it dries, it will dry the same color. Hi, Kathy. All right, so you can't even tell that I misstamped. So let's just pull in our card here. And I am going to grab some of our beige twine. It's probably crumb cake, actually. And I'm going to wrap it around my fingers just to get an idea 3 times. And I'm going to cut it. But I'm just going to unravel it again. And I'm just going to pull on it. I don't want it to be all twisted when I wrap it. So let's wrap it again. And I get about, I want to do it about 3 times. And that's good. So now I have both ends right by my finger. And I am just going to grab my seal. And I'm just going to add some right here to this corner. Just a little bit. And I'm going to open this up and I'm going to grab it in the center so the ends are under my finger. And we're going to attach this right here where I put that seal. That'll give me an opportunity to just pull these apart a little bit and straighten them out, because this is where we're going to layer our leaves. I just want to get it so it's just pulled apart a little bit. I won't worry about that until I get my leaves on. So we're just going to grab our leaves. Now I'll put this right about in the center, and that'll hold that down. And then I'm going to add a little bit more glue, and I'm going to put the second leaf. Let's add it right about here. We want this piece to come out a little bit. We'll get that on the next move with the leaf, because we're going to pop this one up. So let's just grab a dimensional. We'll add it to the bottom. And we'll put that one this way. All right, so here's our leaves. Now you'll remember, here's that little sunflower. I actually stamped them in Mango Medley. I'm just going to pull in a piece of white. These little flowers are tiny. They do have a die. And I'm going to grab my light mango medley. And all I'm going to do is a quick color of the petals. You'll be able to see the ink that you stamped in each petal because I'm using the light, and the mango medley stamp is pretty dark. And all I'm doing is just filling in each little petal, not worrying about actually filling it completely. If there's a little white showing, that's fine. Aw, thanks, Kathy. Okay. And then we're just going to pull in our card. And I want to just cover this centerpiece here. And I'm going to do that with these flowers and with the double oval punch. I love the double oval punch. And I think I used Memento. And I'm going to use the sentiment, "You are missed." So let's just ink this up and we'll add it right down here. And I should have did it the other way, but that's okay. So we're just going to line it up in our oval. Give it a punch. And I want to get this on before our little flowers because I want the little flowers to overlap the edge. I am going to pop this up. I'm going to just add it right about there. Still. And we're going to just fit this right about here. Right at the bottom there. Now we can add our little flowers. So we're going to add one right about here. Let's just grab it and we'll glue it down there. And then we're going to add the second one, and it's going to overlap this piece. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue back here so it catches. So we wanted to overlap our sentiment and the ends of those leaves. And we're going to grab some champagne rhinestones. And I'm going to use the medium rhinestones to add to the center of the flowers. We have to make sure that the glue is dry. All right. So there is, and you'll notice I used a different section of the designer series paper. So it looks good with any section of the paper that you use. Now let's take a look at the inside. Okay, we'll put this aside. Like I said, I fussy cut one of those pumpkins from the designer series paper. And I grabbed the designer series paper, and this is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. So let's just get our card open. And I'm not too worried about the glue showing through because our designer series paper is pretty heavy and it's not white. So we're going to lay this right here on the inside of our card. We're going to cut out a basic black stitched rectangle. And this is the one that measures 3 by 4 3/8. And I have a basic white that measures 2 7/8 by 4 1/8. Now I don't want to glue this on, so let's add some seal. And we're just going to lay our basic white right inside those stitches. And then we're going to glue this to the inside of the card. Make sure it's in there straight. Grab our pumpkin. And I'm just going to glue this in also right here at the corner. And there we go. And this, you could put any sentiment. If you have a birthday in October or November, it'd be a really pretty birthday card. And there's the inside. So just a really pretty basic black and mossy meadow card. Thank you, Margaret. Thanks, Kathy. All right, let's pull in the second one. We have a crumb cake base that is 8.5 by 5.5, and it's scored at 4 1/4. So let's just clean that off. And now we're going to use it landscape. Then I pulled some early espresso, and this one is 5 1/4 by 4, and we're going to adhere this to the front of the card with glue. I like using the glue, so it gives me an opportunity to make sure that my layer is straight. At least it looks straight, right? Okay. Then I grabbed crumb cake again, and I ran it through the cut and emboss machine with the time-worn type. And it's 5 by 3 3/4. Now you'll remember with this embossing folder, if you look closely at the words within the embossing, you'll notice that there is a top and a bottom. And I always go with, I don't know if you can see it, but it says harvest right there. So that's usually the word I go by to make sure I have it in the right direction. So I am just going to grab some crumb cake ink, and I'm probably picking up some of the purple from this pad here, but I just want to add a little bit of color to the edges, just to stress it with some color. And you can add it so it is thicker along the sides, you know, pulling it in and doing the edges, or you could just do the edges. That's up to you. All right, so it just changes it just a little bit. And then we're also going to adhere this to the front of the card. Now this card is pretty flat compared to the other one. Okay, now using the fancy frames, I die cut a fancy frame out of Bermuda Bay. Okay, And we are going to, I wanted to really pop this up, but there weren't enough places for me to hide my dimensionals. So I am just going to add some glue to the edges. And I don't want to put too much that it bleeds through. We can hide it, but I just want to get some glue around so we can stick this right to the front of the card. Okay, so there is the beginning. Hey, Kathy, thank you. Here's the beginning of our card. Let's just put it aside for a second. And I used the Hello Harvest, and I grabbed the big pumpkin, and I just want you to know I did already stamp and die cut. But when I color with blends, I don't use StazOn. I use the Memento. So I ended up stamping a pumpkin, and I stamped the sunflower, and then I stamped some leaves. They all have dies, and I did run them through, and I did die cut the pumpkin and the sunflower and the leaves. Okay, so let's just pull a piece of white cardstock in, and I'm going to grab my blends. Now for these little leaves, you'll notice all the lines inside. So I am just going to take the dark mossy meadow, and I'm just going to pull that line right through the center. And I'm going to just, bear with me, I'm just going to pull the camera in so at least you can see. Is it bright enough, or do you want me to put some more light? So I'm just going to add that line right to the center of my leaf. Then I'm going to grab my dark old olive. Let me just compare them for a second. That's dark. Yep, let's use the dark old olive. And we're going to pull these lines. And I'm not doing every line, but I'm just pulling lines out from the center outward. And I'm going over the artist lines, not every one. And we're going to do it to this side too. And then we're going to grab the light old olive, and starting from the outside edge, I'm going to pull the color back in, not worrying if I have white showing, because that would be an added highlight. Okay, same thing on this one, coming from the outside, and I'm just flicking lines from the edge to the inside, because you know when you use a lighter blend over a darker blend, there's more alcohol in a lighter blend, so it's going to lighten the dark that you already had, which is no problem if you want to color it over. But if you want to do it quickly, you don't want to go over the dark colors that much. So we have our leaves. Let's grab the pumpkin. Now for the pumpkin, I actually use Bermuda Bay, light and dark pool party. This time what I'm going to do, I'm going to color it a little different. I am going to add a complete layer of pool party, and I'm not coloring it in. I'm just giving it a wash of color. Crazy color for a pumpkin, right? But I figured our sunflower will have the orange and the yellow. All right, so our pumpkin has some color. Now I'm going to start with my dark Bermuda Bay, and using the lines that the artist drew, I am going to add some darkness. I'm going to leave a line right along here so it's highlighted. I'm going to add some dark here because that's the shadow. And then here, again, on this edge, I'm going to leave it light. I'm just going to pull in some dark color. Not going to that line, but I will add some here because that's my shadow. And then we'll have a shadow here. And I just want to leave right along this line. I want to leave a light color. You don't want the two dark pieces together because it'll take away from your shadowing. Oh, I know that feeling now, Karen. All right, so we're going to do the same thing to the top. And just adding some dark color. Let's just come down this line now. And I'm going to come down this line here. Same here. And there. And that is with the dark Bermuda. Grabbing the light Bermuda, we are going to just add color and extend the dark Bermuda, okay? But before we do that, I just want to take a look at, that's the light Bermuda Bay. I like to, and that's the dark pool party. And that's pretty good. So let's extend this color. So I'm going to go over the dark Bermuda Bay because I want it to blend. And I'm just going to extend that color. And we're going to do the same thing here. We want to extend that color even where that shadow is and here. So we're just extending the colors. We want to go over the edge. And then pull it up. And I'm not going over all the dark Bermuda Bay, just the edges. So this one we want to go down the edge here, over here, and extend. We're going to extend it down. I'm going to just pull it from here, and then up and down, just like, oops, stuck to my finger. So now we have our shadow and our mid-tone. They are pretty close in color. What I would do is go back to my dark, and I would darken all my Bermuda Bay. Now I'm going to take the dark pool party, and I'm going to do the same exact thing that we just did. I'm going to extend the light Bermuda Bay. Not everything, just where we extended the color. So I'm going over the edge and I'm extending the color. You'll remember I always say when you layer this, so this was one layer of dark pool party. If I go over this, we'll wait for it to dry. You'll notice at this section right here, even though it's the same marker, it's darker. That's because you went over it again. So we're just going to go over those edges, extend it out. You can look at it now and you can tell that it's two different colors, but it's still wet. You don't want to really rub too hard. You do want to make sure that you have something underneath. This one actually didn't really bleed too bad, but just in case it was to bleed. And then we'll let that dry for a few minutes. And I'm just going to grab crumb cake and dark and light soft suede and crumb cake. So while this is drying, let's just do the stem. I'm just gonna give that a base color. I'm going to do my dark soft suede, and I'm just gonna come up from the pumpkin. There's a little indent there. And just add that shadow. And then with the light soft suede, I'm just going to come up these lines. And I don't know why the camera keeps adjusting. All right, so it just looks like a little stem. Hey, hey, boy, they were quick. I wish Sheba was that quick. All right, so now I'm going to do the dark pool party again. And I'm going to use the brush. And this time we're going to go over everything again. We're just going to give it one sweep through each section. Now I know I'm doing more, but what I mean is we're just going to run it down once and then run it down just to fill in all the color. And then we're going to let this dry. You'll notice that you can see the different colors. It is pretty wet right now because it feels cold. So let's just put it aside. We'll let that dry and we'll pull in our sunflower. And we're going to grab those same soft suede and crumb cake. And we're going to grab the dark and we're going to put some dark dots around the center and around the outside. Then we're going to take the light soft suede and put some dots where the other dots are, and then around the outside here. And then we're going to take the crumb cake and we're going to do the same thing. Just try to fill in the rest of the area. I'm just going to go back to the dark. I'm going to add some dark dots. I'm going to go back to the light soft suede. I want a little bit of contrast in color. And then let's go back and dot. And that is the inside of our sunflower. Now for the outside, for the petals, I'm going to grab some light mango medley. And we are going to just quick color in the petals. We're just putting a base coat on these petals. And I'm not being fussy because we're going to come back with 2 other colors. So we just, and again, if there's white showing through, we're going to use those as highlights. So we're just coloring in these petals. Quick and easy, right? Aw, thanks, Casey. All right, so now I'm grabbing dark pumpkin pie, and I am going to grab these back petals, the small ones, and we're going to add some dark color. And then with these petals here, we're going to come up from the bottom and just go over the artist lines. That's a petal in the back. So we're just going to go over these artist lines, adding some shadow. We're going to do this one. So we're not being really fussy. We're using the artist lines. And this is our darkest color. This petal is in the back, so I'm going to come down here. Same thing here. And the same thing here. And here. So all I did was take pumpkin pie, added some shadow, really quick and easy. Then I'm going to grab the light pumpkin pie. These little tiny petals that are in the back that we added a lot of pumpkin pie to, we are going to color them completely now with the light pumpkin pie. We want these to be dark because they are in the back of the flower. So there's not much sun getting to these petals. So we want them dark. It'll give your flower more, what's the word? It won't look so flat, okay? So now with the pumpkin pie, we're just going to add some pumpkin pie in the center of these petals. We're going to leave that mango medley towards the outside, and we want it to still be there, showing up in the flower. I'm just going to come back here and add a little bit more just to blend these colors together. If you wanted to add more highlights, you could use a white pencil or a gel pen, okay? Working on the leaves, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to grab that dark mossy meadow, and along the edge of these petals, we're going to put a line of mossy meadow because these petals are casting a shadow on these leaves. And then we're going to extend this line out. So we're going to do the same thing that we did before. Now we're going to take our dark old olive and we're going to pull out some color. We're going to do it here, doing it over the artist's lines, just like that. Then we're going to take the light old olive, working from the outside. We're going to pull the color in. And then you have your little sunflower. Now I'm looking at my pumpkin. I'm going to grab my pool party again. I don't really like the way the lines look, so I am going to go over this one more time so those colors blend together a little bit more. All right, so let's pull in our card front. Oops, I just knocked something over. And we are going to add our elements. I want to pop up my pumpkin, but before I do that, let me grab a pair of scissors here. I am actually going to cut this sunflower. Let me move my camera back up a little bit. I am going to cut this sunflower right along this petal, right to the center. The reason being, I wanted to make it so this sunflower was sitting behind and on top of the pumpkin. So we're just going to add a bit of glue to both sides. And we're just going to pop that on just like that. Like I said, so it looks like this sunflower is sitting behind and in front of this pumpkin. Let's grab some dimensionals. And we're going to pop this up. I'll put one right there. Right on the front of this card. It's still not dry, so let's just get this on so it'll dry. All right. I'm just going to get some of these blends out of here. All right. In the, I think it was the Harvest dies, they have these cute little sprigs of wheat, I'm thinking. We're going to tuck them underneath this sunflower. We have to remember that that dimensional is under there. So I'm just going to trim off the end. We're going to add a little bit of glue. And tuck this right under here. And then we're going to do the same thing with this one. We're just going to cut off this bottom. Add a little bit of glue. And we'll tuck it right under here. And then grab one of those little leaves that we colored. And I'm going to actually pop this up with a little tiny dimensional. One of the little minis. And we're just going to tuck it right under here on this side of the sunflower. Let's see. I die cut another leaf. I believe this was from the sunflower set. We're just going to add some glue and tuck it under here. And then grab that other leaf and we're going to tuck it right under there also. Just like that. I did forget to wrap this with ribbon, but let's put our bow on. I'm using the sheer pool party ribbon. And we're going to just tie a quick bow. Ah, thanks, Kathy. Yeah, I figured coloring always is very relaxing for me. And I could sit and really do that pumpkin up crazy where it would really look like a pumpkin. I haven't sat and colored to a great extent in a long time. And I know it's, if you just use little tips and tricks, you'll notice a big difference. All right. So let's just find a glue dot. We'll pop this up right about here. Right on the front of our card. So I'm not even sure the name of this punch. I should have labeled it. But I punched one out in crumb cake. And we're actually going to cut this in half. And we're going to grab one that I punched in basic white. And we're going to use You Are Such a Blessing. And I'm going to grab the memento again. Now I do have the little sticker on the back, so hopefully it is on there straight, and it is. Good. Here's our halves. I'm just going to add a bit of glue, not that much. And we're just going to add it to the top and the bottom. I'm just going to make sure these are tucked so they're not coming over the edge. Oops. Just like that. And let's pop this up. And again, we're going to grab it and we're going to tuck it underneath the pumpkin and underneath the flower. Let's make sure it's on there straight. And this time I'm going to grab the amber. There they are. The amber gems that came in the bundle. And we're going to add one here. Let's add one right up there. And we'll add a larger one right over here at the end of the sentiment. Now this card was a little bit more involved. Hey, Nancy. Thank you. Yes, I did do a demo. That's right. That's right, Nancy. I forgot all about that. I love to color. All right, so let's jump to the inside. I did it really simple on the inside. I just have and I'm just looking. Let me trim this a little bit. I must have that's better. We have Bermuda Bay, 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. And we're just going to grab our seal to add our base, our basic white. Just like that. Then we're going to grab a length of ribbon and those glue dots. And I'm just going to wrap these layers with a length of ribbon. And I probably cut too much, but that's okay. So we'll just lay this at the bottom of the card. And then I did one of those embossed pumpkins. You can see the embossing. Just for something quick. Just going to add the stem. And then we're going to add this to this inside of the card. Now I'm going to add some glue. And the reason I'm not adding glue to the bottom is I notice when it comes down to where the ribbon is, it didn't really stick that well. So let's add some glue dots. And we're just going to sit this right here on the corner. Add some glue. Grab our card. And then there we go. We have one card using designer series paper. And then we did one where we colored. I was just looking to see. I don't know what I did with it. Oh, here it is. I did this one in for my Patreon group. This is what our card class is going to be on, the places in the heart. So that's what I've been up to with Patreon. So there they are. I hope you like them. Thanks, Sheila. Thanks, Margaret. Thank you, Kathy. I'll be back on Saturday with our Simple Saturday. God willing, that nothing disastrous happens. I hope everybody has a great night. You are welcome, Nancy, anytime. And I'll talk to everybody soon. Thanks for joining me, ladies. I really appreciate each and every one of you. You're welcome. Bye-bye. You're welcome, Karen.